Well, welcome back to Mr. Obsolete's Vintage Homesteading. Today our chore is to get rid of this stump. Last fall we drilled it full of holes and been pouring used vegetable oil in it, and it's been soaking in for a long time. This is a really unusual piece because there's two main roots here, one here, and then the two of the top pieces here grew together. And then there's one big branch back here, or root I should say, that I got to cut out too. But these were about 35 feet tall, and the wind took out the top of them, so there's a little over 20 foot left, and they were dead. So I took them down about 2.5 years ago. But anyway, we got one small root here, so we'll get our crappy rock axe here, chop it out. Like that. I had another one over here which I already took out. Anyway, I'm going to cut this center section out, and I'm going to cut it right down through the center where I drilled into it, and then we can see how well that oil penetrated in the wood. So we'll be back with a saw here in a minute. Well, I kind of broke through there and I hit a few rocks, so I'll have to sharpen the chain. But anyway, here's where I've been drilled down into it and stuff, and you can see the stuff has permeated quite a bit, probably a little over a third of the way through the wood here. So this should burn really good. The other thing, since I get this open in here, once I put the charcoal and stuff down in the next part of the video, we'll show you, I can actually put pieces of wood in between here so it'll burn up. And then I get this root to pull out over here. So we'll be back when we're ready to start burning. Well, we're back, getting ready for our stump burn. Rained this morning and stuff. Take that off. What we're going to do, we're going to put charcoal in around these. I use these big chunks of it like this. Put it down in between and around it until it's about halfway up, about up to here. Then drop our barrel on like that, and then we'll get some charcoal and dump in here and start filling it up. So we'll be back in a minute. And we'll bring in some charcoal. Get some more here. Move this around to the side here. We'll be back in just a minute with some more charcoal. And we'll get the last of our big chunks in here. Now we're going to take pieces of wood like these and build it up around the perimeter, all the way around the barrel. And once we get that done, we'll be back. Okay, well, we've got the branches around the perimeter here. What that does, we've got charcoal on the bottom and then the branches like this around the perimeter. What it does is it burns from the bottom up, and then when it gets hot here, it refracts the heat back onto the stumps. Let's come over and take a look here. And you can see we put some small wood in between these and some charcoal underneath it to get it going really good. So what we're going to do now, we're going to dump some more charcoal just to cover this, and then find the perfect example of how to get rid of junk mail. So we'll be back here in a minute. We got to get a bunch of branches. And okay, this is the small stuff we're going to put down in the middle. And the reason we do that is it burns really quickly and really hot. And we'll have a nice clean fire, nothing short. Be right back here in a second. Once we get that burning really hot, we'll start throwing in bits and pieces of our blowdown trees here. Remember, use everything you have. So when we get ready to light it off, we'll be back. Well, we're back. Okay, well, got the barrel completely filled up with stuff to burn. This is part of the root, and as an experiment I wanted to see how the cooking oil would penetrate, and I've highlighted here. So I drilled a hole down here. It soaked all the way through here. It took about 3 months, but anyway, it burns good. So just a quick recap. First thing we did, charcoal. Pieces like this around the perimeter. And filled it up with stuff like this in the center to burn hot and quick. Once that's going, we've got a bunch of bark over here that we want to burn up. And then on top of that, we'll put in bits and pieces of the broken trees. So once it got a really good hot fire, we'll have all that stuff going through here. Okay, we're ready to light it off. Put just a little starting fluid on there. It's a little mixture of cooking oil and just a little teeny bit of gas. Using our handy Zippo out here because it's windy today. We put that on there and there we go, just like magic. Yeah, by just using a little teeny bit of gas, you're not going to have a big flare up or anything like that. And the cooking oil will burn hot, and you can see it's nice and clean. So that's the proper way to start a fire. So when we get burning good, we'll come back and show you what it's like. Well, we're back. You can see we got a really nice, clean, hot fire. Take a look in there and see. One thing that's kind of interesting, this was an experiment on the stumps because I used cooking oil to soak into the wood, and what did I find? It's a lot smokier and stinkier than motor oil to light it off, so I don't think I'll be using this much anymore. The thing with used motor oil, it soaks in the wood and stuff, it burns so hot, it burns really, really clean in a short order. This took a long time to get the heat into it enough to, and it smokes when it burns. So anyway, be back here and I'll show you how hot this fire is. Okay, we're going to show how hot this fire is. I'm just going to take this stick and poke it in these coals. It's on fire already. If you can see it, there it goes, right like that. Just that's a nice hot fire. Okay, this is some wood we had left over from last fall where we took these little trees out back behind here. And so use everything you have. And what I've done here, I cut them into lengths so I can just drop them into the barrel. Use my handy dandy non-vintage Corona saw since I don't have a vintage saw like this. But this thing really works great. You've got really nice ergonomics. It cuts on the pull back. Really holds an edge really sharp. Just a few cuts and basically through there. Anyway, highly recommend these. Someday I'll find a vintage one. But here again, use what you have. We'll be back after a while and have to put a lot more stuff on the fire and get it really cooking again. Well, we're back. It's late in the day. You can see this fire is absolutely clean. We'll take a look in there and you can see all those nice hot coals down in there. It's really, really hot. So what we're going to do is come back here in a second and take a look at our wood piles and see what we got left to burn through tomorrow. So we've got about 2/3 of our pile of these branches that we took off that tree that blew down, and back over here we've burned about 2/3 of our bark, and so we're going to burn that, and then once we get all this stuff burned up overnight, we're going to put this in these bigger chunks like that. That should burn all night. Then in the morning we'll come back and we'll take all this small stuff here, we'll put in charcoal first, put that in on top of it, and put some more around this. And taking the stick here and poking down in there, I can feel that the stumps have probably burned down about 6 to 8 inches, so that's really good. So hopefully by tomorrow, the end of tomorrow, we should have them all burned out. So we'll be back tomorrow with some more burning and some more tips. Well, we're back for day 2 of our burn on the stumps. It's going very well. Take a nice peek in there and see what a nice clean hot fire we got. All those nice ashes down there. So we're going to start loading some more wood in. We've got some wood. Got about 1/3 of the pile here. And over to the left we have some more brush that we cut down last year. And then over by the small burn barrel over there, there's some more. So we'll be back here in a second. One thing that's important here, we need to keep it open on the bottom to keep a hot draft. The air can go in, and you can see how hot that is. It lights that stick on fire instantly. It's a nice hot fire and a nice clean burn here. One thing I'm going to do on this to modify it though, to make it better, I'm going to put holes around the perimeter, probably about inch and a half diameter for a better draft. But you learn as you work. So I'll be back in a sec here. Okay, we're just talking about using everything that we have. Now this, the branches and stuff, I took off this little apple tree here last fall. And the one thing that I do when I take these off, I line them all in one direction so that I can just pick them up like this. Have a nice little close handful of them here, and I can stick them into the fire and burn them. The thing that is interesting on this, burns really hot and fast, but it's quite smoky, so it's kind of interesting. And then we've got one other pile we want to show you, so we'll be back here in a sec. Okay, here's the remainders of our brush we had out in the front of the house that was dying and stuff. So there again, use everything you have. I've used pretty close to half of this already. I use this when I first start the fire. Put charcoal in the bottom, fill it up with this, and get it burning really hot, and then start putting it in the bigger wood. So there again, this would be just completely useless, but we make it useful. Mr. Obsolete here. Well, we're halfway through our burn on day 2. It's been very successful. Got a really hot fire here. The one stump on the left side, you're right, will be almost completely gone. The one on this side is still a little bit there, and that's why I'm burning really hot on this side. Anyway, we'll show you where we burned up all this wood. This is the last of this pile here. And then off to the left, there was a bunch of brush there. That's all gone. And over by the small burn barrel, there's just a small amount of that left. And back over here, where we had all these little branches off the apple tree, it's all gone and burned up. So there again, use what you have. We'll be back in a bit. Well, we're going to talk, what did we learn from the burn today? The stumps were in the ground. We drilled holes in them and used cooking oil in it to see how it would burn. And it's not a good idea. It burns really dirty. It doesn't penetrate the wood very good. So the first stump I burned out, we did a video on, I used motor oil along with diesel, and it penetrates into the wood really good, and so it burns a lot hotter and it's a lot cleaner. But the other thing that I have talked about but didn't do on my burn barrels, I've just been letting the bottom stay open, sitting up a bit, so that the air can come in to create a draft. And the stumps are usually I go a foot deep. And so what I'm going to do is, put here is where I put charcoal about 6 inches from the bottom, because that puts a super hot fire, and then I put the wood in on top of it. But what I'm going to do on both barrels, the big one and this one, is cut some round holes in it so that I have a better draft, so that I don't have to constantly go out and clean out the ashes out the bottom here when I'm burning. That'll create a nice hot flame, and it can still dry into the bottom, so the charcoal will burn really hot. So that's how you get smarter. I always try to figure things out. The thing that I want is a really clean hot fire quickly. So many people have dirty fires and it's just a stinky mass, pollutes. So I try not to do that. I want a good hot fire and burn everything up so there's nothing left. Gets rid of all the debris we have around here, and I can put up garden plots. So we'll see you later today when we're getting ready for the last part of the burn. Okay, well, we got the rest of our wood from the pile in here. It'll smoke a little bit till it gets on good hot fire going again. We're going to use the last of our big chunks here. Let the fire burn overnight, and we'll be back on day 3 and see what we got. Well, we're back for day 3. Still got a few embers done on the bottom, but the barrel's not hot, so we'll take the top off. And see what we've got here. Stumps are completely gone. All it is just ashes. So another successful burn. So what we do is be innovative whenever you're doing a job. Think about what you're doing on your resources, figure out the best way to use them, and remember to work smart and you'll be safe, and we'll see you on the next video.